Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, you got to make me wait longer. Saw someone in the comments on one of the recent episodes say that's like their favorite part of the shows.
I saw somebody else say it's very stupid.
Well, on average, that's probably about the typical YouTube experience. So here we are.
How's it going?
About the same as the last time.
Okay, all right. Last time I asked. Okay, good to know. The world is changing at a rapid pace. I don't know. So we are here at the Woody. Just got done talking to Ryan Day for about 10 minutes, and Ohio State's four captains. Let me try them all here. Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Austin Siereveld, Brandon Inniss. Boom. Easiest of the year to get all of them correct. And so this is a Penn State week where I don't know if people aren't trying to say anything, but I think maybe that was some of what was accomplished in terms of. Here's the Penn State thing, Tom. Everybody is saying the exact same thing that Ryan Day said, in that this is a talented team. They've just had some bad stretches. And like I was saying, I said this on Twitter or on the message board, last four games, right? Penn State has lost their last four games. At the end of regulation in those four games, the total deficit was 7 points.
Yeah.
So like, it's not that far away from being a 5-2 or something of that nature, rather than what they are and James Franklin gone.
Right. I mean, they're not that far from being a 7-0 team. You know, you have those teams every year where you go, well, if you just change these three plays, and that's true most years, but the three games that they've won have been comfortable wins, and the four games they've lost have all been very, very close. And it is easy to say, boy, if, there was the Oregon game, there was a fumble. I think it was Dante Moore fumbled in the bottom of the second overtime. If Penn State falls on that football, Penn State wins that game. Penn State almost certainly doesn't lose to UCLA, and therefore Penn State almost certainly doesn't lose to Northwestern. And maybe Drew Aller still gets hurt, and then that sort of impacts things for the Iowa game. But if they don't lose those first two games, probably they're comfortably enough ahead against Northwestern that Drew Aller's not playing at the point where Drew Aller gets hurt. So you're not that far from on the road at Iowa. I'm perfectly happy to hand them a loss for that one, even though it was a 1-point game. But even if it's a 6-1 Penn State team coming in here with a healthy Drew Aller, this is a whole different story.
So that is the message that has been put forward, and it is the message that has been received from Ohio State. So for you out there saying, boy, I hope you're not overlooking Penn State. It's still Penn State. Like, that still carries a lot of weight. And for like the offense, for the Ohio State offense, nothing has changed about Penn State. For the Ohio State defense, yes, some things have changed, but the standard hasn't.
Right. And, I thought one of the most interesting moments of interviews tonight was with Brandon Inniss. And he was just asked, boy, is it kind of odd that this is going to be the last time you're playing Penn State for a while? And he said, what do you mean? We're not playing Penn State next year? He didn't have any idea. And, it was, really surprised and was really looking forward to going back. He said, really looking forward to going back to Penn State. Like, that's a place that they enjoy playing. And, talked about the fact that these are usually very good games with Penn State. Ohio State has won every game going back to 2016. That's the last time Penn State won. But 2017, it was they had to overcome a multi-score fourth quarter deficit. 2018, same thing. 2019, that was the closest. I think they won by 11. That was the closest game they played all season. 2020, kind of the weird year, but that was an early season game, and they only won by 13. And just kind of year by year, you go through, and it's like, boy, that was kind of a close game. Boy, that was kind of a close game. This is, you'll sound off in the comments whether this is a rivalry or not, and share your reasoning in separate comments. But, you'll get people who will argue about that. This has been a heck of a competitive series for, most of the time for the last 3 years that they've been in the conference.
Caleb Downs was also surprised that this game was not continuing as we look to our forward, Tom, to your 1 o'clock or so.
I don't think that has anything to do with whether Caleb Downs is going to play Penn State next year.
I'm just going to mention that Caleb Downs right now in a coaches meeting with two other assistant coaches, Matt Patricia and Tim Wall. So like three coaches right there, including Caleb Downs, having a meeting after practice, basically talking about, Ethan Brunkmeyer and what he can do for Penn State. And the real focus for the Ohio State defense is going to be the running game. the Penn State running game and limiting that. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Caleb Downs called out the two-headed snake. We know that
it's kind of more like the dragon meme where there's three heads of the dragon, except there's only two heads of the dragon and one of them is sticking his tongue out. But
maybe one of the twins has been mostly consumed in the womb. It's that sort of thing. Right now, Nick Singleton has rushed for about 400 fewer yards while only getting 3 fewer carries per game. So
he's in the attic eating fish heads.
Yes, very much so, but still has the potential to go off at any time. So there's a respect for that. There's also the understanding that Penn State has nothing to lose. And so Caleb was asked, so is that, hey, they've got nothing to lose. Don't you have to be ready for that? And he's like, well, I don't think Wisconsin had, I thought Wisconsin had nothing to lose. So they prepare for it. Like everybody wants to beat Ohio State. So it's not like you're expecting something lesser from the next opponent.
Well, I think the difference there is Wisconsin, no matter what Wisconsin did, Wisconsin was not going to win that football game because there was a real talent gap. And there's certainly a talent gap between Ohio State and Penn State right now, especially at the quarterback position. But this is a game where if Wisconsin made a real good run at Ohio State, that probably, and they just threw the whole thing in the whole kitchen sink at it, that would just make it less likely that Wisconsin could beat one of the other teams later. You save your stuff for, I don't know who else they have on their schedule. I'm sure they've got Minnesota to end the season. You win the Paul Bunyan-Axe game, that really kind of changes the end of your season a little bit. For Penn State, this is the game that has defined, this is the game why James Franklin is not here. If he had won this game 3 more times in the last 10 years, James Franklin is on that sideline. It almost doesn't matter which years. If he wins in 2017 and 2022 and 2023 or 2019, whatever, James Franklin's probably still coaching this team. The narrative around James Franklin was can't beat Ohio State, can't consistently beat Michigan, can't beat top 5 teams. So this is the game where, if Penn State beats Rutgers at the end of the season, no one cares. Not even a little bit. If Penn State beats Nebraska, other than the Matt Rule narrative, no one's going to care. If Penn State can give Ohio State a run, and this is a game you throw it all in for, because if somehow they beat Ohio State, boy, that is Ohio State beating Michigan at the end of a lost season. 2001, Jim Tressel takes a 7-4, 6-4 Ohio State team into Ann Arbor, and they win 26-20. That's all anyone remembers from that season.
Good season.
Yeah, 100%. And this is, if Penn State can come in and win this game, completely changes the narrative. Terry Smith also has not said he doesn't want the Penn State head coaching job. So you want the Penn State head coaching job? Winning in Columbus on Saturday would certainly move your candidacy significantly forward.
Yes, it would. In terms of one other aspect of this Penn State offense, with all of the motion and the eye candy that they call it, with offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, Ryan Day told the team, at some point they're going to have to snap the football.
Yeah.
So they're doing all of this, and you just have to maintain your eye discipline and all of that, and just, wait for the ball to be snapped, and okay, who's your, what's your zone, who's your man, and go from there. Don't get lost in all of this, because that's the intent of all of that is to get you lost and, lose leverage, lose your man, whatever. But this defense has done a very good job of staying focused, staying disciplined on all of the trick plays that they've seen. They'll see more. Penn State has to hit some of those to have a chance in this one, but this is right up Ohio State's alley all season long.
Right. Yeah. This is not an Ohio State team that loses leverage, loses discipline. You've seen teams try the end around. You've seen teams try we're going to do the double pass. Like this is a team that has had that covered. And, this is a very smart, well-coached, disciplined team. And that is not true of a lot of teams. There's teams where it's like, you do the laser pointer over here and half the defense goes and chases that dot over that. Yeah, that's not what this Ohio State team is. They've been good in a lot of areas. That's a really big one. And that's one we've talked about that a little bit on the Michigan Monday show, where it's, Michigan is going to run all these end arounds and Michigan's going to do these double passes and Michigan's going to do these flea flickers. And that's something that, we'll see what they have drawn up from the Ohio State game, but sort of the basic, here's your off the shelf stuff. This is a team it's just been too disciplined to fall for that stuff.
And Michigan, they have not run a flea flicker in a few weeks, but you can
Oh, you can feel it coming. Yes.
Certainly expect that.
It's like the fall wind coming. It's like I can feel the flea flicker coming.
It's like the Mariah Carey meme of you can hear like the Christmas music starting in around August. You're like,
all I want for Labor Day is not to wear white anymore.
One last thing, two last things from Caleb Downs talking about why don't you guys have letdowns? And he said Ryan Day talks to them every day about having urgency every day. About you can't have a bad day. You got to be hungry. Everybody's out to get you. So you've got to have the urgency every day to get the most out of every day. And then the last thing, which really, really puzzles me, Tom, and explain this to me. So Caleb's going through the coaching staff. He's like, Coach Walt, Coach G, Coach J, Coach P, Coach Laurinaitis.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Feels
for the
like
longest name,
the longest one. Yeah.
You say the entire thing. Is it because you don't want to say Coach L?
Just no one wants to. Yeah, you don't want to be holding the L. Yeah, that's that, or you're just showing off. Like I can say the long name, no big deal. It's fine.
Yes. Sometimes you struggle with Johnson, but you can say Laurinaitis.
Yeah, well, it happens. It's important if you're in Rockridge. That's good. You want to keep those straight. I will say one of the things that was most interesting tonight was Brandon Inniss. And so much of like Brandon Inniss started talking about Julian Sayin, and then the whole conversation ended up largely being about Julian Sayin. And he talked about Julian Sayin staying humble. He was trying to remember the meme, that tweet, the Maroon 5 tweet. He's like, yeah, definitely that. That's what he is. Just kind of like cool, calm, collected. He said he's definitely going to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
And he said, we just need to catch the ball for him. This is not an exact quote. This is sort of a paraphrase. He puts it in the same place every time. Accuracy, awareness. He's smart. He can make every throw. That's the stuff that sort of sets him apart. He says, he hasn't seen every quarterback in the nation, but he hasn't seen other quarterbacks manage the pocket like Sayin does and also complete 80% of his passes. Said he's a lot more comfortable now than he was at the beginning of the season. And it's like, this is the time of year where you have teammates sort of gassing each other up, but also you kind of listen to that and you're kind of like, well, I don't really have anything I would argue with there.
No, certainly not. And the thing is, he's going to be favored to do this. And now he's the number 2 or the number 3 in terms of odds right now. But if you think about it, now November is kind of sometimes shaky for quarterbacks because the weather turns and you throw in cold or rain or whatever and wind. But if he continues to do about what he's doing and then you beat Michigan, right? That's first step and do well in that game. And then there's a pretty good chance it's you versus Fernando Mendoza for the Big Ten championship game, the Heisman Trophy. And whose defense would you take? Whose defense would you like in that? So there's another area where it's looks like everybody's going to be watching that game, 1 versus 2 perhaps, and all of these things has everything riding on it except, both teams will get a bye in the college football playoffs, but everything is riding on it. But when was the last time we had a game where like the Heisman is in the balance?
I'm
there
sure
was certainly no game last year.
I mean, this is when it really I fall apart in terms of not paying any attention to the Heisman.
Correct.
But yeah, it's a legitimate, it's a legitimate question, and that's all a legitimate sort of scenario. That's not like, well, if these 17 things happen, that's
if Ohio State does what they're supposed to do.
If the 2 teams that are favored to continue winning out in the Big Ten continue to win out, you're probably going to have the northern, Big Ten Midwest type vote, and now West Coast, because the West Coast is now the Midwest, coalesce around whoever is that person, and then you'll have the Southern vote coalesce around Ty Simpson or whoever wins the SEC championship. But yeah, I think that's entirely reasonable. And I'm sure there are people who are going, why isn't Jeremiah Smith the guy? It's like, well, because Carnell Tate has been stealing a lot of his receptions by being good at football.
You've got to win the Biletnikoff. You've got to be like in line to win the Biletnikoff. And right now that's a complete toss up.
Yeah.
So if you're not even running away with the Biletnikoff, you're not in the Heisman discussion.
Well, it's an award that goes to the quarterback from the top 5 team. You've seen.
Yes.
You're familiar with this.
Yes.
Yeah. There 3 wide receivers have won it over the last 30 years, and one of them played defense last year, and a couple. Most everyone else was really there for punt returns.
One played at Notre Dame. So.
Yes. Yeah, and most of them won for punt returns that were sort of and also played wide receivers. If you're hearing what sounds like gunshots in the background, the softball team pitchers are doing some off-season workouts about 40 yards from us.
Yes. One last thing on, because Caleb Downs was asked about Julian Sand and has he changed, since he's gotten more experience. And Caleb Downs said, Jay Cool has been Jay Cool. And Jay Cool was on Caleb Downs' podcast. He has a podcast with his brother. Mm-hmm. And they talked about how, Julian models his game after Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. And so then Caleb was asking, how do they compare? And he said, well...
Julian's playing right now.
Well, I know. Joe Burrow has more juice in the run game, which, fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if that's the big difference that you're throwing between... Here's a guy that was maybe the greatest college quarterback of the last, I don't know, maybe ever. And also the first overall pick, and also got the Mike Brown Bengals to the Zach Taylor Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Won Ed Orgeron a national title.
I mean, this
no
is
greater accomplishment. No more difficult accomplishment.
This is a string of miracles.
Yes.
That is.
Yeah, I do think the Vatican needs to be involved.
I was going to say, I'm going to try not to say anything blasphemous here, but it's an impressive string of performances. One thing that Brandon Inniss talked about was Carnell Tate, and Carnell Tate, the fact that he's, yes, he is kind of taken some of the juice of Jeremiah Smith. Do you know how hard it is to, potentially upstage Jeremiah Smith, even sometimes? That's incredible. And, every time people are talking about Carnell Tate, it's like, wow, I'm really surprised at Carnell Tate. I go back to the Marvin Harrison quote from 2023 when Carnell Tate was a true freshman, and Marvin Harrison just kind of casually said, oh, yeah, Carnell's ahead of where I was at this point. And everyone kind of went, And, and you saw it some last year, but it was still kind of Jeremiah. The world hadn't caught up to Jeremiah Smith, so it was still kind of the Jeremiah Smith show and the Emeka Ibuka show. And this year, it is very much the Carnell Tate show. And Brandon Inniss was hurt. The reason Carnell Tate scored that first touchdown in the slot was because Brandon Inniss had just gotten rolled up on. He got his ankle rolled up on. He was in the injury tent, and I think he kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah,
because he said he was peeking through. He pulled the injury tent apart to watch, and he said he's peeking through there to see Carnell's touchdown over two guys, and he was telling the doctors hurry up, I got to go out there and celebrate with him.
That's amazing. And that's just one example of why everybody loves Brandon Inniss and all of the energy that he provides. I did see one professional draft, Nick, have Carnell Tate going 3rd overall in the 2026 NFL draft. And mock drafts are real science.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What they need is they need to have the owners with the hats, or the GMs with the hats, because then it is a science.
Right. Yes, that's true. Back to Ryan Day was asked about the running game, the running backs specifically. He's like, it's still, they're all running through. They're all getting better. They're all young, except for C.J. Donaldson. All of the stuff that he has said the last few weeks, because you know what? They're still the same age they were.
Yes.
They're still just a couple weeks older than they were previously.
Not much has changed. Yeah.
So, but he was asked, is it tough to lean on freshmen? Because, if Isaiah West continues and Bo Jackson continues, that might be what happens. He said the season is so long that it is difficult to expect a true freshman to be able to hang the entire time, which is why he's always talking about it's going to take all four. We're going to play all four. All four have to be ready to go. All four had 10 or more snaps against Wisconsin. This is going to be an ongoing thing for the running backs. And if somebody breaks through, then you ride that guy for 16 carries in a whole game and then see if they can do it the next week.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up Bo Jackson's high school stats. 2023 junior season at Villa Angela St. Joseph, Bo Jackson rushed for over 1,700 yards and nearly 30 touchdowns, averaging over 110 yards per carry. So I'll do the math for you. Basically 170 carries. But that's, you do that over 10, 16, 17 games, and these are not high school carries. You're getting hit harder. You are dragging guys more. You're dragging heavier guys. You're dragging stronger guys. This is just, the season is just longer in college than it is. It starts basically the same time as high school, but high school state playoffs start this week. There's still 5 regular season games left for Ohio State, and then potentially a Big Ten championship game, and then potentially up to 4 playoff games. You're like a third of the way through the season practically, and a little more than that, but that could be basically the full season for some high school team. So, we talk about the freshman wall all the time. That's the why behind the freshman wall.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole new world, and you're getting introduced to it violently every single week until it's just becomes, you become callous to it and you're used to it. Edric Houston was asked about, and Ryan Day said, you don't just flash in this game. You can't just flash. You have to be consistent. So that's what they're building towards. You're starting to see some of that. I did grade out as a champion versus Wisconsin. So things are heading in a positive way for him. In terms of the position change of right guard, nothing is new there. They're still working through this. He said, don't expect any wholesale changes. You'll still see Joshua Padilla rotating in, but maybe one guy's having a much better game than the other guy, so they'll stick with that guy. So keep an eye on that.
Well, and for people who are looking at that and going, it never helps when you're getting singled out on the national broadcast, and Tegris certainly was during the Wisconsin game. So then that makes everyone go, well, why don't they just change that guy right now? And I think you got to look back at last season at when some of these guys came on. Luke Montgomery was not a factor. At this point of last season, Carson Hinson is not a starter. There is a long way to go in the season for, Carson Hinson this time last year, no one was talking about. He was kind of he started last year, and then they brought in the new guy from Alabama, and haven't really seen him or heard much from him. No one was talking about him as like, well, why isn't he playing more? He was just kind of forgotten. He was like that's weird guy for that season. And then 2 months later, he's starting the national championship game. So this is very much you got to be a little bit patient. And just because something is happening in week 9 this week doesn't mean that's exactly what it's going to be for the rest of the season. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't. Stuff can continue to change.
Sounds like Lorenzo Styles is good. I couldn't hear the question, but based on the answer, yes, he's back. He's good. Going to assume it's Lorenzo Styles Jr. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered the big stuff from interviews.
Yeah, so there you go. If you could hit the thumbs up if you've not yet done it, we would appreciate that if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, the 5-star rating and reviews are always appreciated. You can find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up now. Come remember, say hello to us there on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. Tell your friends, tell your family. And of course, again, subscribe to this channel if you've not yet done so. So thank you all for tuning in. I will talk to you all later.